Hi everybody, I'm Mary Story. I'm here tonight to talk to you about my hero. My definition of a hero would be someone who is very grand, someone who is great, someone that I admire, and someone worthy of the term hero. I haven't had many people in my life that I could say were my hero. However, my grandma would be one person that I would state as my hero. The one and only person. My grandma was very important to me in my younger years and very influential to me. She helped me become the person that I am today. Growing up when I was a kid, my life was pretty dysfunctional, very chaotic, very unstable. I didn't have the love, support, and nurturing that I should have had as a child. However, when my grandparents were around, particularly my grandma, and I spent time with them, or we lived with them, as we often did when I was a child. My mom was a single mom, couldn't really support our family, had difficulty, and a lot of times we lived with my grandparents. When I spent time with my grandparents, particularly my grandma, those were good times. My grandma seemed to always be there for me. She loved me unconditionally. She did things with me or just spent time with me. We played Yahtzee, we played jacks, we played Scrabble, we played cards. We would make desserts, her recipes. She would pull out her special recipes and have card parties once a week. We would make a special dessert for that. That was always fun. She would take me bowling. We would go out to eat sometimes. She might buy me a drink called a Shirley Temple back in the day. That was a lot of fun when I was a kid. Get kind of a special drink. Or she would just be there with me and spend time, like I said. My grandma got diagnosed with a disease called Lou Gehrig's disease in her late 50s. Lou Gehrig was a famous ball player from years gone past. It's also known as amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. It affects the motor neurons or the nerve cells in the brain and spinal column. You eventually lose voluntary movement in your body. So my poor grandma, she lost the ability to walk, talk, swallow food, eat, and care for herself. I remember at first not understanding what the disease was about, then seeing my grandma get weaker and weaker. Instead of playing cards and holding them with her hands, she had to get a special card holder to hold the cards. She'd have a little more difficulty with things. We moved in with her, my mom and I, my brother. We cared for her as much as we could. We would take turns. We had to bathe her towards the end, feed her, make her meals. She had to get a hospital bed, a wheelchair, all that medical equipment. I remember her having difficult times with it. I remember her sitting in a wheelchair sometimes and tears would just stroll down her face. She would just sit quietly. She was crying. I didn't quite understand why back then. I know now. She was dying and she knew it. She didn't have the love and support from her husband or the understanding as she was dying. He didn't have that patience to talk with her or spend the time or hold her hand. He would yell at her. "What do you want me to do?" he would say to her. Her own son, my uncle, would come. He yelled at her once. "Get up. You're pretending. You can do more than what you're acting. Get up." She at one point in time did try to get up and walk. She fell. She broke her leg. I got to go to the hospital with her. They let me ride in the front seat of the ambulance. It took 5 years from the time of her diagnosis till she passed. She passed from breathing complications that was caused from the disease. She never got the chance to see that I became a nurse. I hope in my mind she's looking down on me from heaven, and I hope that she knows that who I am today is because of who she helped me be as a child. I hope she knows that I always loved her just as much as she loved me. I miss her greatly. She would be who I would say is my hero. Thank you. See you guys in a week or two.